Okay, I think this one is going to be a video that I don't know if you'll like, but just go along with it because it's a bit of a story time. So I want to talk today about like the pitfalls of perfectionism and my experience with perfectionism and that kind of whole mentality and the good side and the bad side of it. So to just start out, I think what you need to know about me is about like 4 or 5 years ago, I was in like a headspace myself that wasn't really good for me. Like I wasn't doing any of the things I'm doing now and working on myself or improving myself, and I kind of was like a little bit like the Peter Pan Lost Boys. You know what I mean? I just didn't have any direction in my life and was kind of just doing things for fun, even though they were definitely not the best use of my time. And I just kind of went about it, and then didn't really feel, and as you can imagine, didn't really feel good about myself, and just kind of felt pretty shit. And there were some dark moments that I had, and I'm not going to bore you with it all, like, and I'm not going to give you all the details because we'd be here for quite some time. And the weird thing was, what kind of oddly got me out of it was somewhat of my sense of perfectionism, because I always kind of have been a bit of perfectionist by nature. I think that's just part of who I have been. And it did kind of help me in the sense that it showed me how when I focused on perfectionism and looked at it and my own what I was doing and the performance I wanted out of life, they didn't align. So what I was doing just wasn't where it needed to be, and perfectionism helped me somewhat see that, because I was like, look, I want all of this out of life, but I'm putting a minimal effort in, no effort in, let's just be honest. And I'm getting mad, or I'm in a negative mood because there's that disparity of my expectations and my actual outcomes being really low, or seemingly low, and something wasn't right. And that's what perfectionism somewhat got me to see. And I was like, yeah, that's wrong. And then eventually I kind of started to correct those behaviors. And a huge part of that was actually Jordan Peterson. And I know a lot of people have very opinionated or charged views about Jordan Peterson. My point about him, and I'll just quickly say this, is that look, that man probably saved my life. More than likely, that man saved my life. So damn, can I really be mad at him? Not really. And when you look at him, it's just like people take these really nitpicky arguments and then just go, oh well, he's a bad person. And you're just like, bro, come on, look at the overwhelming good he's doing. Yeah, he might have done some bad, or might have not be perfect, but damn, who is, man? And that's part of what I'm talking about perfectionism today. Who is perfect? But he got me to kind of see that I was getting mad about things because I wasn't going where I should be in life, and I didn't have any direction. But then he can't, he poses the question, got it out there eventually, poses the question that, well, you have these expectations, but are you really putting the effort in? Did you put enough work in? Did you actually, be honest with yourself? Did you? And the reality was, when I looked at myself then, I kind of was like, yeah, and you know what? I wasn't. So I directed myself towards kind of following what he said about, developing your character, your self-reflection, reading. So I looked back and, I think I talked in my reading, video, how, Dostoevsky, and when I first found out about Dostoevsky and Nietzsche from Jordan Peterson, I was like, man, I would never be able to read any of those books. But then just through sticking through it and just, kind of believing in that, I can improve and I can get better, and, this is where I want to be in life. So I'm going to work my way up to an effort that matches it. Kind of really helped me. And I started to see those progression and those changes, and a lot of my behaviors adapted or shifted and pivoted towards, that high performing, high outcome kind of scenario. And, it was really interesting because there's a lot of people and a lot of things that I don't do anymore. There's some people that I don't see. They're all great people and everything, but I just don't see them either at all or as frequently as I used to before. And and don't get me wrong, some of my old friends, I definitely old long time friends from high school, I still really enjoy seeing them. But instead of us getting drunk like every weekend, like every Friday, Saturday, and just losing the whole weekend. It might be every couple of months we see each other. And I mean, with the whole COVID thing, it's, it's been even longer. But even before COVID, we would go a couple months without seeing each other, which was kind of good because it gave us time to do our own things and then get back together and reunite and, share in the good times and create new great times, right? But it didn't mean that we had to go out and get drunk every weekend, which was great for me. And that was my own personal decision, to retract myself and go, you know what, no, sorry, I can't, I've got to do this. And, they ended up doing their own things and, doing different things instead. And, it actually helped them in many ways because it's almost like kind of like group dynamic where we were enabling each other to, do this behavior because we would call each other up, or if someone wasn't around, we'd call them up, and then next week they would call you up, and then it'd be this endless cycle. But moving back to what I was saying about perfectionism, as I continued along my path of like self-development and improving myself, I was getting closer and closer to that high performance level, right? And the margins were, the difference and like the disparity was a lot smaller. And what ended up happening was I would end up getting really hard on myself. Like I'd put myself through a lot of turmoil, like by my own pretty much conscious choice, just because I was like, I haven't done everything that I needed to get done, like, and I didn't do it to the right level, and I got really nitpicky on myself about not achieving exactly what I wanted in the time frame that I wanted. And I think that's where kind of perfectionism then turns very toxic. I think trying to aim for it is something good. It will, like, it's kind of a sign that you're willing to progress and improve yourself. But making it like a do or die thing where it's like it has to be this, it makes you rigid. And that's a problem because I can't remember where I read it. I think it might have been 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Great book by Stephen Covey that I think you should read as well. But in one point it says, plans are useless, planning is priceless. So what that kind of means, if it doesn't make any sense straight away, is it's saying plans in themselves just in isolation are useless because unfortunately, variables change. Things, new information is added and new information comes into the forefront, and that changes the dynamics of the situation of whatever is going on in your life or whatever, is going on, right? And that means if you stick to a plan, like if you just write out your plan and you have this idea and this goal in your head and you're just like, yep, this is it, and then new information comes in that kind of makes that not possible, that's an issue, especially if you're trying to dead stick to it. So that's where plans are useless, and that's where you can see in certain instances complete disasters, when it comes to people's personal lives or even to like running of businesses where, they set up a business plan, but then new information comes, but they're so rigid and stuck to that business plan that it ends up failing because they didn't adapt to the new information. So the plans are useless, but the planning is priceless, because if you're willing to constantly plan and constantly re-update that model that you've got for the future, then that's when you can kind of adapt to that new information. So sticking to rigid things like that, and especially like I was saying with perfectionism, I had this rigid model in my head of what was expected of me or what I expected of myself, and then when I didn't meet it due to new information or new circumstances arising, I'd be unnecessarily hard on myself. And I think that's a bad thing because that can kind of it can kind of delegitimize in your mind the hard effort you've already done. And life, the reality is life is not going to be decided by one day or 1 week's worth of your hard work. It's going to be determined by a lifelong commitment day in, day out to improving yourself, even if it's only by minor margins, because through the power of just sheer compounding, all of those small improvements build onto one another, and over a lifetime it just becomes exponential and it just goes right up. I mean, don't worry about there's bumps and stuff along the road, but there hits a point where it's a breakthrough where it just keeps going up. And that's just because of the never-ending compounding that you just add each day. So that's why I would say, like, if you can try to improve yourself 1% each day, in your performance, then that's a victory in itself. You don't have to double your performance, in a week time frame, or sorry, yeah, in like a really short time frame. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be perfect in that regard. But if you just do it over time, but actually are committed to doing it over time, because a lot of people say that, oh yeah, I'll do it late, like, yeah, I'll do it, but then they never do it in the end because they just delay it and defer it. But I'm saying, if you actually commit to doing those small improvements day in, day out, you will kind of get there, perfectionism or not, you know what I mean? So I think you need to be, if you're going down this route of self-development, I think it is a good thing. And I think it's, if you're watching these kind of videos and this content and you're in this space, I think that is a good thing. I think for you and for me, that is a very good thing, because it's a reminder for me of what I need to be doing, and it helps you also to see and, keep you informed about, oh yeah, these are things ways that I can improve. And I think that's something you should be excited about, because you kind of are in a special club. The 99% of people don't care about this shit, and and will never consume content like this, that they would rather just waste it away. And that's a shame, but their loss, their decision to do that can be your direct gain, can be your bonus. Because I've noticed it in my own life, like, anytime you talk about self-development, 80% of the room just immediately turns off. Like, you can just keep talking and their eyes are on, and their eyes are like open, but their brains are just somewhere else, and you can just see it on their face. It's just they look like zombies. And then you have the remaining 20%, and out of that 20%, who will actually stay awake, 10% of them, all of them will listen, and they'll agree with you. Like, that's the crazy thing. It's like, you'll have that 20% listen to you and go, yep, you're dead right, that is so true. But you know what happens? Half of that 20% then agrees with you, but then doesn't do it. They go, yep, you're completely right, and then just not do it. And you're just like, wait, you made that conscious agreement, and then you just were like, yeah, nah. And then, so that blows my mind. But so then you've only got that 10% who were listening to you and then actually went off and did it. And then, unfortunately, I don't have the exact figures for this, but let's just say 5% of that. So 5 out of the 10%, right? They'll listen to you, they'll actually do it, but the problem is they have this weird expectation that they're, within the space of a week to a month, they're going to go from whatever station they are in life to like a billionaire at the front of a yacht. And it's just like, I think your expectations are out of line. And then the problem is that 5% that actually tried it and then are like, and then they quit after a month because it didn't turn them into a billionaire. They then go around to like everyone else who didn't listen or didn't try it and go, yeah, this self-development stuff is snake oil, it doesn't work. It's like, because you didn't even give it a real go. You gave it for like a month, if that. It's like, not good enough, sorry. But the miracle thing is that few percentage, maybe it is 5, maybe it's even smaller, that actually did listen, did attempt it, but then actually stuck through with it. That 5% or whatever small number, damn, they're the real ones. They are the ones that you just, whenever I meet someone like that who actually, and you can see it, like when I see someone or talk to someone who's on that same like trajectory in life, I'm just like, I don't know your story completely because I haven't lived your life, but I know you're headed to something good, and I know it's you put in the work and you did it, you did the right thing, and they look at me and they turn me around and like they make that same observation. They're like, yeah, you're going the right way and you're doing the right things. That's cool. It's cool to meet you. It's good to know you. And that's what I think is really good. And it's why you should be in this kind of content. And I think that's why you should try and focus on implementing these strategies and giving it a shot and trying to stick with it as much as possible, because shit, man, it could change your life. Not just for the better, and not just your life, but those around you. And then once you've improved the lives of those in like your family and your friends, then it expands out further, and it's just a natural thing. It's like you start on working on yourself, so then you work on yourself to get to the point that you're competent and you got yourself put together. Then you start building on your family and you start pulling them together and you start helping them out, and then before you know it, you start focusing on the community. And that's where a lot of the ailments in society, I think, can actually be somewhat remedied if there's more people out there like that, making that difference. And not saying there aren't people already doing that, but every extra person doing it is just another, person in the battle who's just kind of trying to make the world a better place for others. And I think the more people like that, the better. So thank you so much for watching. And, if you have any questions or concerns, you want me to talk about anything, like you have a topic you're interested in and you want my thoughts, please write a comment and I will kind of get around to it. And, see you next week.